What's going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in to another episode of the TGC podcast. Thank you for tuning in to our season 2 season premiere, and we're finally here. We're out of quarantine. Well, we're not quite out of quarantine just yet. We are in phase 2, and Father's Day is this weekend as well as Juneteenth. We're here to absolutely talk about it. We got our fathers that are birth fathers. We got our fathers that are teacher fathers. We got our fathers that are brother fathers and uncle fathers. So all of us on the panel of fathers in some shape or form. So we salute all the dads out there. Whether you have birthed a kid of your own or you're taking a kid of your wing, you are a father.
How y'all been enjoying this decent weather we've been having? Because it's been nice out. Can't really do much, but it's still nice out. Get out and get some air.
This kind of feel funny because it kind of feel like the virus is over. Like, but then again, like you still kind of nervous and like scared. Like,
yeah.
It's crazy. When they say numbers doubled in a couple of states.
They always gonna say
like
that
they say that
up and down.
They say that, but it's weird to me because it's like, how y'all know? Like people just randomly getting tested now. Like, come on. Mm-hmm. Like I go outside one day and I'm getting tested the next because I went outside. Like,
I ain't off none of y'all. They were saying that like the 2 days after the protest started, they was already inflicting numbers talking about. So you got to really read these reports, man, and make sure you know what you're reading because there's a lot of false information out there. As y'all President Trump would say, false news. There's a lot of that out there. So make sure y'all read y'all stuff.
It's been about 2 weeks since like the first protest. So and there's been protests all around the world. So the numbers are like real crazy right now.
Exactly.
Had mask on, like wasn't nobody 60 or
the way downtown looks.
That spread should be crazy.
Zombies now, like
you say this shit be going, and how you can't be in contact with people. That spread should be nuts.
Word.
It was thousands.
But that's what they trying to say. They trying to say it's a lot of new cases now. But
how do they know? Especially if like the symptoms don't show up right away.
Like, see, what had happened was they did the census. And they realized they killed enough people, so now they done. It's convenient how they do the census right after we had a motherfucking epidemic to check how the numbers looking. Then once they check the numbers to see enough of us ain't dead, they like, oh nah, it's been some more outbreaks. It's outbreaks before now. So
have everybody going crazy again.
Some more people dead.
Y'all see the video where Bill Gates he said out of his own mouth that he uses the vaccines and shit like that for depopulation. He said that shit out of his own mouth.
That's what all the rich people want. They want less people on Earth. But that's been remember like I told you about me watching Infinity War and Endgame and thinking about how Thanos that was his idea to keep the world, to make the world balanced. Take half of the population. That way the resources would be there. It'd be cleaner, less pollution, everything. Bro, it's a lot of truth and a lot of stuff we watch that's hidden, bro.
That's a fact. A lot of movies be like that.
What's going on? Bill Gates and them, they want to get rid of a lot of people. It's going to get a lot of these older folks off of the insurance. Man, it's a lot of stuff. It's just a lot of stuff that we probably can't even understand or fathom. But that if it was less people, it would be more beneficial. That's how they figure it.
I got this guy on my Facebook that I went to school with. He like a conspiracy theorist. Like, so he really pushes the conspiracy now that Donald Trump is like really just trying to like help us out. Like he's trying to send a lot of politicians to jail. What I think of it.
Send a lot of politicians to jail. That nigga need to send
like a lot of politicians, businessmen. He needs to go to jail himself. But
I was about to say he ain't one to talk.
He shouldn't be one to talk. Then he just beat a case, a few cases, some shit, impeachment, all that. Like he need to relax. That nigga colluded in the election with Russia. This nigga doing all kind of shit. Like.
Yeah, y'all need to watch that show House of Cards, yo. You'll learn some stuff from that show.
That's on it was on TV, but I think it's on Netflix now.
Yeah, you know Kevin Spacey like little boys and shit, so he fucked his money up with that. But that was a good show he wrote.
Nigga is nuts.
That show would teach you a lot about politics and how they stir some shit up right during the election, all kinds of shit.
Perfect timing.
Niggas be
Always.
in that, bro. They don't
Always
care
perfect
nothing.
timing.
Like fear produces money, fear produces laws, fear produces all kinds of new shit.
Hey,
But
bro,
even
that's just like
look
when
at
they
what
Politics really be like that
Charlie
show.
Brown.
Nah, I said I think politics really like that show with what's her name, Olivia Pope.
You talking about?
Scandal?
Some of that stuff
Scandal,
too.
yeah. Huh?
They got heroes and stuff like that.
I think
Like, we would probably be surprised if we found out what really be going on in some of these offices. Like, shit probably all types of crazy stuff.
Shit that be going on in the streets.
Yeah.
Who really be going to the private parties and all kind of.
So what y'all think gonna happen? Y'all think they gonna have another lockdown in the fall, or we gonna be just not out of the way, but
I think so. I think this is gonna be like the norm for a little while, like, cause they're gonna say the numbers about to spike back up. So I don't think they're gonna shut down everything, but a lot of stuff is just gonna be like limited how it is now. Certain businesses could be open, shit like that.
I was looking at a Nike mask, and that shit just made me think like, man, this is gonna be around for a long time. Like the mask itself looked like it was an investment. Like they put some money into it. Like ain't something that you're not just gonna want to get rid of in 2-3 months.
Facts.
That mask like it was made to be around for.
Surprise!
It probably was.
When I was in Jersey City, they got like a lot of restaurants open with like the tables outside. Like niggas ain't got no mask. Hey, niggas living their life, smoking blunts.
I see some of the vendors starting to come back out in Chinatown.
Yeah, so opening back up. The barbershop open Monday, so Scruff McGruff, this shit about to go.
Man, I think I'm gonna be the first one there at that motherfucker. I'm so tired of this shit, bro. I don't know what to do.
The barber about to get paid for real. He's gonna be lying. If people were not too scared to go out.
Man,
people going to the barbershop. They'll take that chance.
We've been waiting, bro. People been calling barbers to their crib, the ones that got the connect. They do it on Instagram and show everybody, motherfucker.
My cousin, I saw a post on my cousin page. He was charging motherfuckers $20 for kids and $40 for adults. And then, I wanted to tell him like, yo, you fucked up.
Nah.
But hey, bro,
businesses do it. Why not?
There's people charging for the net.
Convenience.
Everybody else been doing it. Why not?
Hell yeah.
Supply and demand. You want it, you gonna buy it.
Facts.
Nah, that woke me up though. That I need to learn how to do my shit myself and get my own clippers. That shit woke me up.
I've been cutting my hair this whole entire time.
Well, you gotta just do your face and your hairline. You really don't gotta do your hairline like that. So you good.
I need to learn. It can't be too hard.
You got a baldy, all you're doing is cutting your shit to the back or to the front all the way off and then lining this. But the thing with this, you can't do it with the straight razor like the poppy do it like. The straight razors would really be hitting that shit perfect.
When I cut my hair, I don't just do like this. I don't like no type of pattern and none. I just get that motherfucker.
Okay, you got that type of razor that goes straight. Okay, that it go like this, like the neck can do any like movement. I got one of them. That shit left me with mad bumps though. I'm like, fuck that. I started.
I use regular clippers because the razors that really bumps on my hair.
Okay.
My whole shit would be fucked up if I use the razor. Like a Nestle Crunch.
That's crazy. The Father's Day, men can't even get fresh at the barbershop because the shit closed. It opened up. When is that? Yeah, the next day. Damn, that's crazy. They could have opened Friday. Sunday? They could have opened on Friday. They could have gave us that. That's grimy. That's a setup mission, if you ask me.
I think it's gonna be surface. I think what's going on, everybody just kind of seeing, or the government is trying to see what everybody else is doing first now, and they trying to see I think they trying to note take from the other countries now, since they prepping differently, since they still getting their infections and stuff like that. The mash, I think we will get to a point. I don't know if we're gonna shut down as long as we have, but I think we will eventually shut down again. I don't know if it is gonna be for 3 months. I think it may just be for less time next time, since they taking the preventative quote unquote measures now. And some people gonna take some vaccines anyway, so that's what's going to kind of like keep the economy flowing. Once people start taking vaccines, whether effective or ineffective, that's going to be the reason to keep the economy open anyway. To seem like, we can still function because people at least doing something. Compared to last time, there was no vaccines, there was no knowledge, it was nothing at all. So I think this time around wouldn't be as long.
And speaking of the vaccine, no, go ahead, Peace.
I said
I was about to say,
go to vaccines the way they talking.
I don't know about the whole vaccine. Y'all taking it?
No.
Shit, I'm not taking it.
I'm good.
I don't even take the flu shot, and
Word,
a lot of that
me
stuff
neither.
they say.
But what if they say the kids can't go back to school until they take it? Because
Hey, QG, it's funny you say that.
That's what they're gonna try.
They're gonna try that with us too. Like, we don't want nobody in the workplace if you ain't got the vaccine.
But understand, they just won the ruling for vaccines last year. A large population of because Jewish people don't like doing the vaccine stuff neither. And before coronavirus, they had like a whole New Jersey. I don't know what the bill is, but they actually fought that because New Jersey was one of the first to kind of have that in place for us to have our kids mandatory vaccinated. And they wanted to fight in that bill. What's the guy? Islam even posted about that too. He had a post in the winter about that whole how they fought the bill in New Jersey when he came to New Jersey to fight that permanent vaccination for kids. Because a lot of people still use the religious reasons and whatever other health reasons or whatever.
Did they beat it or no?
Yeah, they won. They won last year at the Senate, whatever you got to go to. I guess it's like Senate or Congress, whatever. But they won.
I was thinking that. I was like, they probably gonna try that for adults too. Like, you can't go back to work until you get the vaccine. Like, nah.
Well, the hospitals, I can see them doing that because with hospitals, they make you get a mandatory flu shot. And a lot of people don't want to take it, but in order to maintain your job, you're going to take the flu shot.
That's going on. A lot of people want to be in different positions and doing different things, but it's like, need this job or damn.
Yeah, that's the catch-22, bro. You need the money. But you're gonna say no and don't make no money and then be
exactly.
I'm gonna show y'all the article right now too, just to back up what I stated. So the one I pulled up, it talks about mainly the Jewish community really fought for that. You know what I mean? And they was like, nah, we ain't really having that. Y'all ain't gonna be having kids going to school, man. So basically, we kind of over them because a lot of us probably didn't make it out or didn't even know about the issue even. So
have they rights to do whatever.
See, this is the bill right here. How anti-vaccine activists doomed the bill in New Jersey. This was actually in January. It says this article was. I don't know when, but this had to be probably a couple months before. See. Pass the bill and y'all see it. The bill collapsed, which is good because we don't want this stuff affecting us anyway. So
I never took a flu shot in my life, man. When I was a baby, but only thing I took in my high school years that they was trying to keep us out of school for was TB shot.
Yeah.
That was 04. It was like, you can't go back to school unless you got it.
A lot of the shots we took as kids was like shit that's not even around anymore, like polio and stuff like that. We ain't gonna really see those type of diseases like that no more. Like measles is still around, but it's not as prevalent. Like it's not nothing that is almost rare. So
think about this though, right? If they really wanted to get rid of all the black people off the earth, they have access to all the kids, right? When they come out their mothers, right? And then they run off and take the baby in another. Can't they just inject the babies and make them not sterile? Right?
Black men in the military unsterile. They was giving them injections. They went and told them those injection words, and those men became unsterile. And they found out that it was only minority men that was affected by this sterilization. So that was, I believe, in the 70s when they tried to slow down our population.
They should have kept going then. If they hated us so much, they could have got us up out of here. That's funny to me.
Bro, they got more than one way to get us up out of here, bro.
Because they always got access to the kids first. The nurse always take the baby and zoom out the room like, hey, and do whatever with your baby. You don't know what the fuck going on. We don't talk.
They kill everybody. They kill everybody who's gonna do work.
That's what I'm saying. They got other people now. They don't
They gonna kill all of us.
One of the
Think about it.
They gonna always kill a percentage.
Bruh.
One of the major things currently they was talking about the increase in autism, i.e. the vaccines again.
Yeah.
How
they create money. That's what they do.
They was giving us stuff or like dosages that really impacted the genetics of like African American kids. Though a lot of other ethnicities are getting autism too, but they were saying like somehow they knew the genetic makeup to alter, just the natural chemistry of our kids. And so that's why so many black kids have like stuff like ADHD that wasn't really nothing back. It wasn't no such thing as ADHD and stuff like that. Now we got like all these different super hyperactive things that they now
diagnosis.
Because like all those diagnoses is funding too for schools. So as many kids you get in as much money. So even though it's bad for us, they still profiting. People profit.
Yeah, they don't care. It's money. Money run the world, man.
There's nothing wrong with your kid just cause your kid perfectly fine. You can just like
your kid being a kid, like.
Yeah, and a lot of times I think us too. It's crazy on the parenting talk, but I think a lot of times there's a sticky situation for a parent to be in anyway, because you don't want to label your kid, but then you don't want to disadvantage your kid too. So that's like a fucked up space to be in. I think every parent's always there. Like even at one point, I thought my kids had like a speech impediment or something. So I think like as parents, like it's a sticky place because everything is like a gamble in a sense. Managing your kids and raising your kids.
Not only that, see, I can speak from personal experience. Not only that, a lot of us just be like fearful of saying something is wrong with our child. Like I was in denial for a minute. Like my daughter didn't talk. Like how she wasn't speaking at the rate that she was supposed to. So me being a proud father, I'm like, man, she gonna talk. She gonna talk when she ready. She da da da. But one thing we can't be afraid to do is, I know everybody got stigmas about the doctor or whatever, but if it's your child and you love them, you got to get them diagnosed and get them whatever type of help they need, regardless as to what. You know what I mean? Like, that's how I was feeling at first. Damn, man, my daughter. Then I was crying like, damn, man, my daughter, she got autism. Like, I don't even want her to have this hurdle in her life. You know what I mean? Like, that she got to go through. I ain't wanted to go through nothing I had to go through, let alone something like dealing with that's internal like that. You know what I'm saying? So I was in denial, but it's a lot of people that's just letting it ride. Like, oh, nah, they'll be all right, she'll be all right. But she get a lot of therapy, a lot of stuff that she need, behavioral therapy. All autism is child learn differently from other children. You know what I'm saying? It's different spectrums too. You got to learn what spectrum your child is in to get them that help that's effective. And you got to do a lot of work yourself as a parent. Like, you can't just sit back and just be like, oh, okay, just send them to school and just let that shit just play out. You got to do things yourself, and it's going to be beneficial.
Much respect.
Real, man. It's hard too, man. It's hard. It ain't just something is wrong, just take it to the doctor and this and that. That's an everyday thing, man. Like, it's an everyday thing. My daughter got her little. You gotta learn them. You gotta learn what make them tick, what get them frustrated. Like my daughter did with a lot of anxiety, and like she don't want you to be upset with her. Her biggest thing is will never want nobody to be upset with her. So it makes her real anxious when she think like she in trouble or anything. Like anything, your tone of your voice, the way you speak to her, it's a lot. She don't like them real loud noises. She like to be secluded in her own little area. It's just different spectrums. That's why I say it's different spectrums. You got to learn your child and learn what works for your child and put in the work, man. That's all. If you love your child, you got to.
And another case point, a lot of the stuff, believe it or not, that like just working with kids when I worked in the school environment, like working with kids that had like behavior issues or, that's had like, like I forget, not to say a health issue, but like some type of disadvantagement that it wasn't their fault. A lot of those tools you could use on a kid that doesn't have those that can work just as well. Too, like I, in terms of like things with my own sons when it come to patience and stuff like that, I use some of those tools that I learned from the school on them.
The biggest thing is patience. What you just said is patience. It's about just setting that patience aside. Everyday life and how you on edge, but setting that patience aside for my child, or because I know she dealing with something that I ain't have to deal with. So I don't know what it's like for her, to be inside her body or what's going on. So you got to give it that benefit of the doubt. Like she had her little meltdowns and stuff like that, just like any other child would. Does be a little bit more severe sometimes because she can't articulate what she want to say. So sometimes you don't get what she want. I mean, you don't get what she's trying to convey to you, and that gets her frustrated. And I can understand that. That's like me not being able to speak English, but I'm sitting up here on a video chat trying to talk to y'all, and I'm trying to make a point, and y'all can't even understand what I'm saying because I'm speaking in a different language. You know what I mean? I try to look at it from different angles in that way. So that sometimes that be my little thing. Like, you know what? Let me calm down because it's frustrating too. Like being a parent, you gotta try to figure things out on the go. Like it's not like it's a book. Like you do X, Y, Z, and then everything will be all right. You don't
Ain't
know
no instructions to it.
You don't know what to make everything. You gotta work at it.
No, you're absolutely right. You definitely, to speak to your point of saying you gotta take the time to diagnose that thing. As a paraprofessional and working in a special education environment, there's a lot of parents that I come across who are just in such denial about what their kids have, especially islanders. Like I had a student this year, they was from Guyana, and the son was like clearly had stuff going on within him. He's in fourth grade, but you could tell his mentality. He only had the mentality of a first grader. And his father was just like, no, not my son. Put him with the regular kids. Let him do the regular stuff. But he wasn't capable. And it wasn't until we actually had to sit him down and have a serious meeting with him to convince him to get the help for his child, that his child started to blossom and thrive both socially and academically towards the end of the school year, because we was able to cater to his need. Well, we didn't treat him like a regular kid, so we was able to give him the tools that he needed to advance in the classroom. So you're definitely right when you say you gotta be open to it, man. Be open to help. We live in an open world. Now, I mean, you can be gay, transsexual, you can be whatever you want to be. You can be a fucking superstar. You know what I mean? The sky's the limit. So everybody's accepting of what's going on. So it's not like nobody's gonna ridicule. Oh, you got the. It's not that type of world, man. Everybody wants to help, especially when it comes to kids, man. People are so open to helping kids, no matter who they are, what they're trying to do. It's just be open and reach out for that help. And there's people that want to help you, yo. That the resources are limitless, especially when you're kids on the spectrum. The resources are limitless. I mean, so make sure y'all do yourself a favor if y'all got kids that you feel like, even if it's just a little bit off, they focus too much on one thing, a little bit too much, or their speech is a little behind where it should be. Just check into it. Look into that. Make sure that kid is okay. Because if you don't, they're going to suffer in the long term, and it's going to make your life harder as a parent as well.
Yeah. Not only that, just like how you just said, the father, like, no, nothing's wrong, yada yada. You might just be putting your child at a disadvantage by just pushing them. No, he need to be with the regular kids doing regular things. By all means, I feel the same way too, as far as some things go. But when it comes to education and her learning, the way she learned, I wanted her to learn, what's the best, the best way for her. What how the teacher teaching the other students may not be how she can learn it. So you gotta find a different way to come across, to get them to understand whatever you're trying to teach them. And it's not, everybody learn different. We know that. And we come up in our regular classrooms and ain't nothing wrong with us, you know what I'm saying? But we all learn different. You know what I mean? Some people more visual, some people more off of what they hear. Some people is just, fast absorbing. Some people with slow absorbing the information. Some people need longer period of time to learn and others. Like it's everybody. But when it comes to the kids and them having a disability, I don't even really want to say a disability because all kids are special and you just gotta learn. You just gotta learn.
Sometimes sometimes the one thing they're not good at, they other senses improve. So you're right about that. You can't really call it a disability.
You gotta find it. That's why I said it's work. You gotta find it. Because a lot of autistic kids, they be good at something. Like I seen my daughter, she was playing a piano. She got like a little toy piano. And I'm in there, I'm thinking she pressing, how they could press the button where it automatically play the little tune. She was playing like the little tune. It wasn't nothing major, but she was doing it herself off of something that I know she listened to because I heard her listening to that before. But she was doing a little tune on the piano. So me and my mom like, I might just get her a little real piano, see what she can do with it. That might be genius right there. You know what I'm saying?
It's good for her sensory stuff too. That's a good sensory too for that makes sense.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, make sure you paying attention. That's good that you're making up mad good points, bro. Because you pay attention. And a lot of parents, I'm not gonna say a lot of parents, but some parents out there tend to not pay close enough attention. Because again, they want their child to be okay. So in their mind, they're like, they do normal stuff. So they don't pay attention to those things. So they have no idea what their kid is capable of and what they're not capable of.
Mm-hmm.
And do you think it's like a denial type thing? Like, nah, my kid good, so
part of it.
Oh yeah. Because a lot of us,
your child has a disadvantage. You ignore all the signs, and internally you don't even notice them, and it gets to a point where it comes natural. So they do little things in front of you, and somebody else might be like, "Oh, why is little David doing?" You're like, "That's just him," but in reality, that's his way of lashing out and telling you, I'm not good right now. But you being ignorant and just not wanting to admit what's going on because whatever's going on with you, you don't want to admit it. I mean, that child that's a form of neglect. Honestly.
Yeah.
That's a form of neglect.
Basically, yeah.
Like, think about it. If something wrong with somebody's kid, right? Who the kid come from? So they probably internalize that, like, damn, what's wrong with me to make a kid like that? Some people could think that way. Some people could put that
that's
pressure
what I was thinking, Juan. I was thinking that too. That like parents, a lot of times.
Think about it. If they egotistical already and think that they a high quality person, nah, I can't make no child like that. My baby good or my baby strong. That's what I'm saying.
That's what I was thinking
sometimes.
And they putting the child at a disadvantage for their own selfish reasons. For their own selfish reasons, to put that disadvantage, man.
Facts.
Let me tell y'all a quick story. Like I think I was at a White Castle, and I had my daughter with me. We was in line and shit. So it was this guy. He was there. I guess he ordered his stuff. He off to the side. He would get his stuff. So my daughter, she wasn't acting up, but she was doing her little spin around, acting up a little hyper or whatever. So you could tell he was looking. I seen him looking, you know what I mean? But I wasn't, really paying too much attention to him. But he asked me, this your daughter? I'm like, of course he knows it's my daughter. He like, my son act how she act. Basically like, I said, yeah. But you could tell he was uncomfortable talking about it, and he was uncomfortable approaching me about it. But he was curious. So I'm like, yeah, she has autism. He like, yeah, my son has autism. So basically, you can't have that fear, man. Like he thought I was gonna be like on some like what the fuck?
Defensive shit.
What you talking about? Like, but I eased his mind when I was like, yeah, my daughter has autism. He like, yeah, my son has autism too. He could see some of the things that my daughter was doing and some of the things that his son does. You know what I'm saying? So us as a community, us as Black folks sticking together for the right causes, that's a cause that's bigger than mostly everything is our children. If we could get together and brainstorm and what works for you? What works for you? You know what I'm saying? Like, we can help each other, man. We all, just like they said, it takes a village to raise a child. I think that applies more than ever to us. Basically, like we got to start being more like that. Like, you know, once I let him know, like, yeah, he got comfortable talking to me about it. And I'm like, yeah, yada yada. And we just were shooting the breeze, even though I didn't even know his name, whatever. But we related just off of that. Like,
you know, when I think of fatherhood, it's a dynamic, man. It's not just, you know, the dad in your household, man. It was so many people, bro, that was a part of this, whether it was for a moment or if it was for a longevity period or whatever, like an uncle or a coach or mentor. And I know I myself have came across a few people that I would consider to be like father figures or role models or whatever the case may be. And I'm kind of interested in y'all, like, have y'all, because I know some guys had their father and, you know, some of us were not, you know, did not have our father. So, like, what's y'all perspective on fatherhood from what you guys received from, like, any male role model, somebody, if your dad was there, whatever the case may be?
well, for me, man, the strongest man that I learned the most from, was Orville Kennedy, was Bob. Like, just a older man. Like, he was the older father figure and showed me, like, you know, what I always thought a man could be. Like, a man's supposed to be able to fix everything. He's supposed to be the provider of the house. What he said, not what he says go, but when he come in the house, if you acting up, you better straighten up. You know what I'm saying? Like he showed me a lot of that coming up, and he was an older man. He was old enough to be my grandfather, but his word meant everything to everybody, and I respected him, and I respected that, you know, and I respected the respect that he got from other people. When I seen that, it kind of make you not bow down, but it make you be like, yo, I want to learn from him. At a time in his life, he got to a point where he couldn't physically work, and I used to be the brawn and he used to be the brains. Like, he'd come get me to fix something, but he'd just sit in the chair and make me fix it. And he'd tell me what to do, and he'd get frustrated with me and everything. Like, if I ain't doing it right, boy, I told you, you gotta move it over there. And I used to be like, yo, like, I don't know how to do this, but I used to love it. And the same, I could smile on the inside of my mind, like, yo, he giving me tools, he giving me stuff, he giving me game, basically. Like, he know how to do everything. I done seen him be an electrician, a plumber, a carpenter, a landscaper, a mechanic, whatever.
Word up.
I seen Daddy build remodel a whole basement. I just didn't see him do everything, so I admired him for that. And there's a lot of people we come across in our lifetime. They might not have to be our biological father, or they might not even be in the house with us, but it's stuff that we admire about them that we take from them, or we soak up the game. Especially us, we be needing that game to soak up, because it's not too many people that's passing it down. So when you see it, you soak it up, man. And Bob, he definitely was one of the ones in my life. My own father too, but my dad was, he was incarcerated for a good part of my life. When he got home, he just did what he can to make up for the time, you know what I mean, that he was gone. So he was just making memories. But as far as, like, you know, everyday life, being in the house, like, Bob was the one I learned from, man.
Yeah, bro. All right, so
Dad, I know you could relate.
Cause Bob and my father they was right hand man, right?
Yeah,
My father ain't know how to do something here, but like, yo, Baba, I'm about to do this. How did I? And then, I mean, they used to brainstorm together and whatnot. But for me, also, the reason why I'm so big on being a teacher dad or teacher parents and giving teachers credit as parental figures is because that's where I got my motivation from, was from Mr. Thomas Ho, nephew. He know him. He's sitting by my way, and he's heard countless stories about the homo in the van. But this white man, bro, he never let a nigga down. Like, we niggas from the hood, crazy, wild, you know what I mean? Drinking in the fucking bathroom, smoking mouths, all kind of wild shit. But this the dude, he coming to the hood. He coming from Pennsylvania to pick niggas up for school, making sure niggas is fed. Got niggas on the debate team, took niggas to Virginia, all the way up to Rhode Island, and all across the nation. I've never traveled so much in my life until I met this dude. I never heard you can do it. You can be something. You have potential until I met this guy. So that's it's most likely because of him why I ended up in the field of education, because I seen what an educator, how impactful an educator could be to a child, and to be a Black educator in the city of North is doubly impactful. So it was like he was probably the biggest male influence on my life outside of my birth father, until this day. And even now, he's a strong pillar of strength. Somebody I can count on. If I go through some stuff, I can call him up. Know what I mean? He'd come through. He actually gave me one of my first cars. Like this is my guy, bro. He was ride or die. And he was like that with all the kids, bro. Male, female, 9th grade, 12th grade. If you confided in him, he would believe in you, and he'd put everything you have to build you as a person. So man, shout out to Thomas Holman. I got so much respect for that man.
Hey, my grandfather, y'all know him as Bump, but yeah, he was a piece of work. But like, I can say one thing I know for a fact I got from him was like my rawness and just being blunt with things, and just keeping it real with everybody, like not sugarcoating it. Just especially if I'm cool with you, like I'm gonna keep it a buck with you. There's no point in BSing you and playing around with you. It's just like, nah, I'm gonna tell you what it is, and we move from there just to be real, because it's pointless to bullshit you and then have you do some bullshit or whatever, or try to lead you down the wrong path type. You get what I'm saying? So it was just like, he was my grandfather, but he was more like my father, because my father came around when he wanted to type. But it happens. I ain't mad at him, but it was just crazy because this guy being like, he my mother father, but to have a connection with him like that is weird, because I'm like, damn, like I don't have this with my real father, but you, like, you talk to me about everything, like you there for a lot, that really, like, when it mattered, he was there.
Right.
So it was definitely dope. And he didn't, like, he got sick in me getting older, like he was getting sick, so it was hard for him to like show me certain things and do certain things with me. But as far as like stories of him and like Army and just learning history and all that stuff from him was super dope. Like, so,
and they done seen mad things.
Put you on game about everything.
Oh, QG, you muted yourself, bro.
Like my father, he was around. He was like, well, in the house. I was like, probably like 5th grade, 4th grade, like fourth, third, yeah, like 4th grade. So in that period of time, like I learned a lot. Like I was raised as a Muslim, so I learned a lot about Islam. I learned a lot about cooking. Like I was always like, at that time, I was always like working at a different restaurant or in the bakery or something, learning how to make bread or pies, cakes, or something like that. I cook just about anything. Like that's why I grew the passion of cooking, like from my pops. But after he left the house, it was like, I just had like a couple of older cousins. They was out, doing what they do. So like my influence was kind of like different. Like it was like I wanted to do what I was seeing like my family do and like friends do and like just people in the neighborhood. Like I was like, yeah, like, but once my pops left the house, like I was always quiet and observing. So like every situation you ever encounter like throughout your day, all day, like it's something you learning something from it. Like if you really just take the time and think about your day or something like that, like you can take something from every situation throughout your day. And everything is a jewel or a gem, whatever. Like I was just like all my life I just been like I link up with a different group of friends, like, and there'd be somebody starts talking and like I'm listening, like I like learning, like if you got some gems,
Collecting them. Yeah,
bro. I like, especially like the old heads, like old heads get to talking, like I sit right there and listen, like, especially if you talking about something.
Yeah, absolutely.
Neighborhood, like just knowing like history, knowing like the history of my men in my family and like what like things they've accomplished, things like that. Like, that's kind of like it probably when you get a little older.
That's dope. I look at it. Juan, you want to go?
Yeah. My father was in my life. He was a barber. He's still a barber to this day. He just had a struggle with some personal demons, and we never really had like a real strong bond like that. But it was my best friend John Peralta, his father Walter Peralta. When you talk about machismo, when you read that word machismo, that's Walter should be right there, because Saturday morning he get up at 7 and he say limpia, everybody get the fuck up and find something. Every time it was anything that involved the family, he always led. He always was the leader. I'm in the front. I'm the forefront. I control the house. I control the money. I control everything. I love my wife. I love my kids, but I have the final word. I have the final word in this house. And then now, when you see John at 30, he just like his father, little soft, a little more nicer, not so stern, but Walter was a man. When you think of a man, or you say machismo for the Latino people and the Hispanic people, Walter Peralta was that, a real stand-up guy. And then for my adulthood, from 18 to probably 29, my grandfather, Willie Stinson, the greatest man, and he better than Rose, because them chains, he all earned them back in the day. He's the cleanest, he's the loudest, he said what he want, broad daylight, anywhere he go, he's himself, he don't sugar. I never saw him wear a mask. I never saw him had to be this way to these people. He'll be this, always look you in the eye. I'm like this all the time kind of guy. So my grandfather would be probably number one, and Walter would be number two probably, because my grandfather, he gave me plenty jewels as far as finances and just tying a tie, all of the basics. But that, a lot of us didn't have those habits.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the two most influential I can say in my life.
Me, man, I kind of got like a little list, man, because I like a few other people, on the podcast. My dad wasn't like as active in my life, so like I kind of found my way with like the leadership of other guys, like my friend, one of my best friends early on, his name was Corey Walker, and his dad was kind of like that prime example for me for a while, because he was one of the friends that had a dad in his life consistently. So for me, like being able to go to his house and see that dynamic, and they were very church going, so they also had like that God church going element in there. So I kind of like took a little bit from them, and seeing like it was okay, and it was kind of normal that black relationships was happening, and black relationships weren't perfect, but they still were going on and things like that. And weekends I would go over there, and Fridays they had movie night, and Sunday they'll go to church together. So I saw a lot of that togetherness aspect, and also, like I said, that leadership aspect from a man. And as I grew up, as you grow up, you kind of shift and change. And so, though we not as tight as before, I still got that, I garner that respect. I still got that respect for, his pops or whatever. And also at that age too, a younger guy, and also at the age I had a friend in those youngest days, and he was African, and he was from the same area, the Irvington area. And his dad and his dad stepped up a lot. That's my guy, Steven Menza. And so, I was able to see it. That was like my first introduction into like another ethnicity, like household, because I was so used to like the Americanized household coming from my own, and even with my friend who went to church and his dad went to church and things like that. So going into a home with ethnicity where, they don't eat as much fast food, they eat their culture food, and, the structure's a little bit different. That was like interesting for me, but it was all positive, because it created friendships. Like I said, these guys, these are friendships that lasted. So, they're I learned a lot from me and things like that. All that stuff helped out for me. So, like I said, like fatherhood could come in spurts, and later on in my life, a lot of the fatherhood things that I was able to pull and retain came more or less later on, but it just came in fragments from this coach for 6 months, or this coach for a year, or this person, you know what I mean? And also, like some of my friends that had their dads around, some of y'all, even Karzea dad, learning when I first got a car, asking little tips here and there, like, yo, what you think I should do for this? And he can help you out. Oh, my such and such not working. What you think? Turn that on, let that idle for a minute, da-da-da. So I think I was able to grasp enough just by like I said, like who made the point, like they would just grab knowledge from everywhere.
That was Beats talking about getting them jewels from everybody, just collecting them as they was coming, like.
Exactly. So
I think we all did that. I think we all did that in our life too.
Yeah. And that was mainly it for me, man. And I think now, like, my father couldn't go, but now as a dad, I utilize all that stuff, though. Like, all that stuff. I mean, I use it at times where I feel like it's needed. I may not be like, oh, all the time with this, but it may be 2 months from now, something that I learned from, you know, one of my friends' dad or one of those coaches come in handy. You know?
I meant to mention Mr. Eric too, Fat Ant Pops.
Word.
Eric, when I was in Elizabeth, I became friends with Ant when I met him on the block. He was at his Aunt Tina apartment. She was cool with my mother and grandmother, and that's how me and Ant met. We still cool to this day. That was like '94. So yeah, he took me to Chuck E. Cheese, all kinds of shit that my real father never did. No disrespect to my real father, but Mr. Eric was always a stand-up motherfucker. And they lived in Prince Street Projects. That was the first time I went in his house. But yeah, Mr. Eric.
He always still dropping jewels too. He always dropping jewels. He always gonna give you some information.
He at the court,
he had basketball.
He be at the court.
Big bright smile. I mean, you could tell he not bitter with his life. Look at it, a lot of guys, he be bitter as hell, bro. You could tell they be giving like bad info. Some of them, yeah, for real.
No bullshit. He one of the men that I learned like, I took note of just watching him like that. Like, I mean, you take care of your family, like
a real father figure, a real get behind his son, push his son.
He used to be at the park with his son playing ball, and
not only that, we at the park with Ant, he pushing us too. He like, all right, I see. I remember one time me and Ant had went, I think to Elizabeth High, somewhere to play basketball or some shit. We all hopped in the car, we went, but he was like, yeah, I see you keep shooting from there. Why don't you try to shoot from over here? Like he just, it's not even no jewels that he was dropping, but he was challenging me. And he was caring about it. Like, you know what I'm saying?
You to challenge yourself.
He there with his son. He could just be giving his son all the game. And he's telling me some shit too, you know what I mean, to help me out and to see how serious I am about shit. That's that. When people do that, we take notice. And that's when we start taking them jewels like Trek said, like Fee said, we take them jewels because we be looking like oh, like yo, he really trying to come across to me right now, and it's in a good way, it's in a father way, like, so you soak that up, man. You eat that up, especially from the communities that we from. A lot of people are fatherless, or your father wasn't around the whole time, you know what I'm saying? So, but it's all on us to recognize what's good and what's bad and kind of soak it up. And then later on in life, you be applying that stuff to your life. Like, it's stuff that kind of, you unknowingly
kind of make things a little bit easy. You don't make it easy, but it kind of give you an advantage at some things.
As we mentioned earlier, man, it takes a village to raise a child, bro. You 100% with that. And the reason that we had those kind of experiences is because growing up, a lot of parents had that mindset. Nowadays, unfortunately, that whole dynamic is lost. A parent can see a kid out here struggling on the street and keep moving. Back in the day, let me go outside and somebody from my block see me cutting school. I'm getting snatched up and being brought to my father's doorstep and being snitched on. Nowadays, the parents be like, ready to gospel. Look at that. Look at such and such son out there on the corner. Instead of getting involved, we don't have that dynamic on it. We can bring that dynamic back, especially in the Black community, bro. You know how powerful we will be, especially at a time like this. This Black Lives Matters movement would be fucking 1,000 times more impact because we would already know each other and be fucking united. We wouldn't have had to come together. We would have been together.
Yeah, absolutely. Yo, you 100% right. And like that's something, like, remember what we was talking about on our last episode about what can we do to combat racism, combat all these things we dealing with in our everyday life.
Right.
Little stuff like that, as far as becoming a village, becoming, yo, your son is not my son, but that's my nephew. You know what I mean? Like, yo, if I see him doing something, like, yo, chill, straighten up. And then that's your son. You ain't saying shit to me about me telling your son to straighten up, because you know what I'm telling him is the right thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
A lot of black folk, I'm telling them something right, and you should be agreeing with me and adding on to it. You know what I'm saying? So that's all it is. And then a lot of the kids that we be around, we knew them since they was first born. Why wouldn't we have input on their life, even if they not per se our child? But if you my best friend child, and I see your ass cutting up, you don't think I'm going to say something? But my best friend ain't around, or you know what I mean? That's what I'm saying. Like, it gotta be that. It gotta be that. That's the only way. That's the unity. That's the little small part that we can do amongst ourselves to make ourselves stronger, along with just loving each other more, loving the kids more, bringing each other together. Just like you said, Aunt, father, he ain't know my mother or father. He ain't know me from a can of paint. He probably don't even know my name. I was in his car. I was riding to go play basketball. That's what he knew I wanted to do. So that's what I was doing. He was giving me little jewels, and he was talking about real life stuff. And he probably didn't even know my name. You know what I'm saying? But that's what you need. And he don't. And when people be dropping them jewels, sometimes they don't even be knowing who be needing it.
He understood that was his job as the older dude.
Yeah.
He understood that was his job.
Yes. That's your job, period. Especially as a black man, as an older black man, is the guidance, man. That's a lot of people need is guidance.
Hey, QG, I like where you directed it. I was gonna say, you know, not to make it a comparative thing, but just from an observation point, do you think the principles of the more mature black male resonated more than the ones that was, I would say,
absolutely,
that was younger or closer to our age?
You inside my mind, because when Vaughn was just talking about Bump and I was just talking about Bob, that love, that respect, the honor, the jewels that they dropped was different than somebody that could be like my father. I mean, they want to drop the jewel, but they don't want you to be mad at them. They don't want you to react the wrong way. But the old man, he don't give a fuck how you feel.
Yeah, he don't care how you feel.
You need to hear. It might hurt your feelings, but in the long run, it's what you need for your mental. Like, that's why Bob, it's been times where Daddy made me cry. Like, he'll say some shit to you that'll make you cry. Like, as even as a grown man, he said stuff to me that had me like, damn, that was harsh. But at the end of the day, like, it was all love. And I realized that, like, damn, yo. And now that he gone, I realized, like, yo, everything he gave me, not even the tough love, even the mean stuff, everything he gave me was love.
Facts.
And then, like, we gotta remember, like, our parents and then their parents, like, that's like kind of like two different eras. Like,
absolutely.
Like, when our grandparents were coming up, like, they really went through it. Like, our parents as they got, I mean, they were probably like kids when everything was really like real crazy. Like, they really had to like grow the crops. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I should them. But like our parents, what I'm saying, like our parents, when they was like teenagers and like early teens and 30s and shit like that, that's when like they was partying and shit like that, getting high.
Oh, it was a different shit. I agree with that. I definitely think
the older generation, like everything is different about them. It seemed like everything started to get more watered down as generation got closer to us.
It's like it got softer, kind of like. Well, it did.
It did. Everything. Sports, like everything.
Facts.
Where do you think fatherhood stands today?
We doing it.
Well, yeah,
we doing that shit. Everybody I look at, I could say I'm proud of them. Like, everybody I associate with, I could say I'm proud of them. I could say, like, yo, I've seen them in their element with their kids, and they care. They own it. Like I seen Feast at a young age with a kid, bro. Like, and I used to spend the night over Feast's house. We was still young, still out here running around, but he was still a father. Like, my boy, rest in peace, Eric. he was a father early. You know what I'm saying? And the main thing with guys like us, we was trying to make up for what we didn't have. Like a lot of us didn't have the dad that was in the house the whole time while we grew up till we was a grown man, or they didn't have that dad that was always there. So we made sure we was the ones that was always there, and we continue to do that. And I'm just seeing our generation, just like how our podcast, we talk about changing the narrative. Our generation, I'm talking about people I went to school with, everything like that. They be on it with their kids. I can't even really think of somebody to call out to say like, oh, I'm pretty sure they exist, but I can't even say somebody I could think of like, oh, nah, they don't be really taking care of their kids, this and that, XYZ. But you know, we definitely made up for what we went through back in the day. Like I said, my pops was incarcerated. Like by the time he came home, I was a grown man, so I'm like, what can he teach me? But then that was a wrong thing to think, because he could still teach me some things. You know what I mean? He came home, he was doing the little carpentry stuff, fixing up houses. All right, well, since I got you now, I want some of that game. You feel what I'm saying? Like it's never too late to soak up some game. Like it's never too late, bro.
Like that, man. Script. We done saw the damage. We done felt it. Now it's time to the point where most dudes is like, yo, I gotta change this shit. We're looking at a legacy now.
If you give it to them, they're gonna give it to their kids.
Yep.
Yes.
So why even, you know what I'm saying? So just that is on your heart, like, damn, I don't want to give them no more damage, because this is what you see, the results of damaged people out here.
Yeah.
True.
A lot of them, like, if it's 10 people in the room, 7 of them damaged. That's a fact. 7 of them need some type of healing. They need something.
But all of them going through some shit.
Yeah, son,
all of them going through something.
For real, son.
And not for nothing either, we've all seen women who haven't had fathers in our lives that it affected them, it damaged them, it changed the course of their life on a course where they probably wouldn't even have went if they had that father in their life. That's why I said all of us with daughters, you know what I mean? We there for our daughter. Like I say this, like I always say this little thing, like I say I spoil my daughter. That way she ain't never gotta look for no nigga in the street to spoil her. You feel what I'm saying? Like she ain't gonna never have to go out here looking for no nigga to take care of her, because as long as she living, her dad could take care of her. You know what I'm saying? Even after she grown, bro. I feel like that way strongly, like. And that's what a lot of women didn't have back in the day, and that's we bringing it back. But and I respect that about my generation.
I tell my daughter she a princess, so she got to gotta have class.
Utmost respect for yourself.
Facts.
My son, he gonna be just like me. That's already. that happened a long time ago. Like, bro, he just like me, humble, quiet.
But he was in them trenches where you at now as a parent. Right. But you had him already. So it wasn't like, oh, all right. You was learning as you go.
I was learning as I went.
On the fly, bro. On the fly.
It wasn't easy. I'm still learning. Like, because it was times like I said, like my father wasn't always in the house. So I mean, it was like a gap. So now it's like, all right, once my son get to the age that I was when my father left the house, then things start getting different. Like, all right, how do I handle this? Or what do I do in this? Because I ain't had a father to tell me this or teach me that. So now it's like, all right, I gotta learn this. So I gotta, ask a couple questions about that or figure this out. It all works.
So that wraps up our season 2 premiere. We want to say happy Father's Day one more time to all the fathers out there and father figures who continue to be a positive role model to the youth around them. We want to say we honor and appreciate you and continue to do what you're doing. We want to say thank you to everybody for listening and continue to support us. If you haven't already, make sure you hit the subscribe button and follow us on all platforms, because we're on all platforms. You can look us up as The Grumman Collective. We have a great season planned for you. We're going to be doing prize giveaways. We're going to be having more guest speakers. We're going to be bringing you that great conversation that you've been looking forward to and continue to change the narrative as we've been promising since the beginning. If you want to show some extra love, you can reach out to our Patreon and make a donation. We also have extra content and things that we give away for donations there. So you can hit up our Patreon. So that is that. It's a wrap. Make sure you follow us, subscribe to us, and follow us through the season. You will not regret it. And we are the Grumman Collective, and we out.
We out.